Okay, I have no idea how to start these videos without sounding completely cringy, so let's just get into it. I wanted to talk today about um, Superman 2025. I really liked the movie, and I didn't really have any sort of ideas for videos around it. And then I had this thought, and I wanted to talk about it. So, spoiler alert for Superman 2025 before I really get into it, but yeah, let's just go. Um, so, towards the end of the movie, Superman is fighting Ultraman, and it's this big climactic battle between him and Ultraman and the Engineer, and they get the upper hand, and they nearly kill him. Um, and it winds up them going underground into the sewers, where Superman finally, um, gets his bearings back, and then we get the reveal that that Ultraman is actually a clone of Superman, which is different than how Ultraman is usually depicted in the comics. But um, I don't want to get into that right now. I have other thoughts on this. Now, I have an idea in my head, um, and what a lot of what I'm going to talk about is based on this idea. What I want to preface this with is none of this is confirmed, and it's most definitely not canon, but uh, I'm going to act like it is and go under the assumption that this was what was always meant to be, because that is the rule of the internet. And that's how people theorize on the internet anyway. So, um, my take on this is that this battle between Superman and Ultraman is a commentary on the evil Superman trend of the mid 2010s, because that was really when it was at its peak. Now, you'll still hear people say that Superman is more interesting when he's evil, which my take on that take is that if you think Superman is more interesting when he's evil, then you don't understand Superman, which is a common take. I'm not original in my thought, but I definitely believe this. And I think that having Ultraman portrayed how he is, and I'll get into that, is um it points to this idea that evil Superman just doesn't work. Um so let's get into this before I really get into my problems with the evil Superman trope as a whole. Because after Ultraman is revealed as a clone of Superman, Lex starts monologuing, as villains are oft to do, and he starts talking about how he found a hair that Superman had left at one of his battles and cloned him, but it wasn't perfect. And he says, "Oh wow, he's even dumber than you are," which, again, in my own headcanon, um, is just pointing to the fact that the evil Superman trope is dumb. Um, but Ultraman really doesn't have much of a personality. He is at the whims of Lex Luthor. Same how evil Superman doesn't really have much of a personality. He's just at the whims of whatever story the writer wants to plug him into, which I understand is how comic book characters are, but Superman as a whole is a symbol. He represents hope and goodness and kindness. And when you take all that away, he is nothing. When you take away the hope and the goodness and the kindness and his loving parents and his support structure and his family, you don't have anything, which to you may signal that Superman himself is a weak character, but no. No, that is not how it is, because when you take the fundamental parts of any character away, then you don't have a character. An evil Superman is not a character. When you take away Batman and his crusade against villainy and his crusade against crime and his rules about killing and guns, and when you take away his when you take away his character, then you don't have a character. You have a shell. You just have a rich guy who has weapons. Just how, just like how when you take away Superman's, uh, Superman's character, his what makes him Superman, you just have a tyrannical authoritarian. You have um uh someone who came to conquer. You have um a horror movie villain. You have ew, which isn't to say that these characters don't have their own character traits, but they're not Superman. They are villains with Superman's powers, but they don't have what makes him Superman. And I see this connection between how Ultraman is portrayed as this, empty husk who is meant to oppose, this beacon of goodness and hope. And it just, to me, it just clicked as, oh, this is Superman versus evil Superman, the one that we've seen all last decade, and thankfully has been dying off. And we've finally gotten some really good screen adaptations of Superman. Now, I only watched like a little bit of Superman and Lois. I plan to watch more, but I just suck at watching TV shows. But then you have My Adventures with Superman and this movie, and it just shows that, Superman as a character has these traits that are so ingrained in him, and when you take them away, all that is left is nothing. Just an archetype, just a an evil killer with the powers of Superman, and thus we dub it Evil Superman, even though it's not. It is not a character type, and it doesn't work because Superman is not more interesting when he is evil. He isn't. He is just a shell for you to put in things that you think are interesting, which isn't Superman. I want to make that clear. It just isn't. Um, Now if you think that evil characters are more interesting with Superman powers, then go ahead. But Superman as a character, he just he is meant to be inspiring. He is meant to be hopeful. That is who Superman is. And that is why I didn't like Man of Steel. I'm gonna make that thing, the Zack Snyder fans are probably gonna boo and hiss as if anyone's gonna watch this video, but there it is. Um, Superman does not have those character traits in Man of Steel. Honestly, I like Henry Cavill as Superman. He just doesn't he doesn't feel like Superman. What he doesn't have that oomph that Superman has. And a lot of my issues also come back around to John Kent's characterization in that movie, but I'm not getting into that. But yeah, and they try to do the evil Superman turn with Justice League and the Zack Snyder cut, but it doesn't work that way because when all the chips are on the table, Superman just is this guy with this awesome power, and but on the outside, but on the inside, he is just like you or me. He just wants to help, and that's what's so important. And that's why Superman's um speech at the end of Superman works so well, where he says, "I'm as human as anyone," because that's what it is. His parents on Earth that raised him taught him to be human, taught him to care for other people, taught him to treat everyone the same. Because to him, he is just like us. He is not any different, aside from his, amazing superpowers. But that's what's the most important, is that people think that, oh, Superman has all these powers, so obviously, if I had them, I'd use them for evil, so he's more interesting when he uses them for bad. But no, you're thinking like Lex Luthor. Superman's not going to use those powers for evil because he was raised with certain values that tell him that no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help people. I'm going to use them to for the betterment of everyone. That's what makes Superman so great. Um so yeah, if James Gunn, if you watch this video, please tell me I'm right. Even if you tell me that that wasn't your intention, I'm going to just kind of take it as yeah, um um evil Superman versus Superman. Superman wins because I mean, like Superman said there, brain beats brawn. Superman beats him because he actually stands for something, not just powers with a fresh coat of paint. Um, like and subscribe. I'll upload another video at some point, no doubt. When the whim strikes me.